Hello everyone out there, welcome back to the Phantoms Fanatic YouTube channel. I am back with another review, and this review is of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, released this year in 2023, starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Will Poulter, Karen Gillan, Sean Gunn, Vin Diesel, Dave Bautista, Pom Klementieff, and Chukwudi Iwe, sorry about pronunciation, and it was directed by James Gunn. Guardians of the Galaxy is the newest MCU movie, and a bunch of people are saying it's the best one since Endgame. I don't know, I feel like No Way Home should be put in that, but it's way better than Quantumania was, let me tell you. I did not enjoy Quantumania. The most memorable thing about that movie was kinda Kang, and then also the trailer song, the cover of Goodbye the Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. But other than that, we get Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I probably should state my opinion on the Guardians films. They're my favorite MCU films, and I was debating about reviewing them, but I feel like those, and maybe like Infinity War and Endgame, are the only two MCU movies that I would give full in-depth reviews of. And I'm still working on the Indiana Jones reviews, which I still have 2 of them to make before Dial of Destiny comes out in June, so hopefully I can get that done. But first, we got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The plot of this film is that Rocket Raccoon is harmed in an attack by Adam, played by Will Poulter, so then the Guardians must work together and rush to save Rocket Raccoon's life before he dies. And Rocket Raccoon's creator, the High Evolutionary, is the only one who can give them the access to save him. So the Guardians race around the universe and try to save their good friend. So obviously, I said that this movie was way better than Quantumania, and a lot of films can be way better than Quantumania, but to be honest, when in comparison to the other Guardians films, which I love both of them. I don't know why so many people have a problem with Volume 2, but we're not talking about that now. But this film is on par with them. I missed this MCU so much. Don't get me wrong, in Phase 4 there was stuff that I did enjoy still. I enjoyed Shang-Chi, I enjoyed No Way Home. This movie I have enjoyed so much more than No Way Home. I was laughing so much throughout this, and I was just having a ball with this film. God, I've missed this MCU. Me actually caring for the characters. Me actually enjoying this shit. And obviously, this is James Gunn's final tackling of the Guardians film, and as a finale for the Guardians of the Galaxy movies in the MCU, I think it ends all these characters satisfyingly with the results that were given. They still have the potential to be used in the future, but I don't really want to see a full-on Guardians movie without James Gunn behind the helm. But you can still use them in other properties, is the point that I'm making. One of my favorite things about this film is we get a lot of stuff explored in this that, yet again, matches with the other Guardians films, because you get Star-Lord's depression on Gamora, or duplicate Gamora, I guess I'll call her, who, you know, abandoned him after the events of Endgame, and he's been looking for her since, and we get that relationship tackled in this. We get them interacting with each other, and I like that they're doing something different than people would expect, and I really do enjoy that they give a closure to that and Peter Quill's arc throughout the Guardians movies, and his arc in the MCU in general, without doing something that everybody would expect. I like how they end those two characters' arc, and there's still a potential to use them in the future, as I said, but I like what they do with Peter in this, tackling his depression, seeing him drunk and belligerent at the beginning of the film. I think that's very interesting to explore. And the main relationship and the interaction between the Guardians in this is yet again fucking phenomenal. All these actors clearly enjoy these characters, and you can tell James Gunn cares about these characters because he writes them so well, and he wants to give them satisfying conclusions, and I think they do that well in this. One of my favorite things of this is that we have Nebula, who's one of my favorite side characters in Guardians, as a main member of them now, and she adds so much interactivity between Drax, Peter, Star-Lord, and Gamora, all of them. She adds such a funny interaction with those characters. And we especially get, even though I think they established this in the holiday special, that they now live in nowhere, which I like that. The Guardians have become this like big hub with the Ravengers and stuff like that, and I love that idea. And as I said, what they do with the characters in this, I like. You get Star-Lord dealing with his depression over Gamora, and how the other characters keep telling him he's like running from things instead of facing the facts. And I like how they resolve that in the end. I feel like they do a very good job of doing that. And we get flashbacks to Rocket Raccoon's backstory with the High Evolutionary on how he is trying to build this perfect species, and he built this group of animals that have cybernetic enhancements. And those scenes, while you know where they're going, it still is very compelling to watch. I feel like that shows how much James Gunn wanted to tell this story, because you get the cuts in moments where I feel like you maybe shouldn't have cut back to those flashback sequences, but I think it's fine for the most part because it's compelling to watch. I enjoy seeing this almost like horror movie, like surgery happen to Rocket Raccoon, and even that propels Peter after he sees that. He gets pissed at the High Evolutionary for doing that to his friend. And I love that. The fact that they tackle it in a way where you're interested in this backstory that's going on throughout the film as Rocket is dying. And it does make sense. For the most part, it does confuse a bit of the pacing where there'll be actions going on and you'll just randomly cut to this backstory. Sometimes you can see it as Rocket's like life flashing before his eyes because he's in the scene, but then you get the closure of one scene and it just cuts immediately to that, and that does get into this film's pacing, which is its main problem, I do believe, but overall, it didn't distract it because I was interested in the backstory that they do with Rocket in this. And I like how they bring his arc to a close as well. They wanted to write these characters off in with a satisfying ending, and I think they do a very fucking good job with that. And as I said, the comedy lands for me. A lot of the comedy in this, while not super hilarious on script, you clearly have actors and characters and how they're written and how they deliver it makes you laugh. Not all the comedy lands. I would say like maybe 2 out of 8 jokes land, and some jokes do, I think, go on for a bit too long and maybe should have been cut. But overall, I didn't have that big of a problem with it. Overall, I just enjoyed watching it because there was still a good amount of comedy that made me land and a good amount of fucked up shit going on in this. Like, this is pushing PG-13, and I really appreciate that because James Gunn loves horror and loves gore, and he really tries to push it in this. And you still get very creative locations for the Guardians to go to. They go to this, like, organic company where these guys in, like, Michelin Men suits are, which adds to the comedic element, but it's also a very creative location in itself. And then you go to Counter-Earth, where the High Evolutionary has these, like, humanoid animal things that he calls the perfect species, which is a lot of practical effects. I loved seeing all those designs. Even though the world is a bit, just kind of looks like Earth, but I don't know, the creativeness of the designs just made me enjoy it more. And the High Evolutionary is a very entertaining villain. He is very over the top, and his, like, god complex makes him not necessarily interesting, but makes him insanely entertaining to watch, and you're waiting for him to get his comeuppance in this. And when that does happen, it is yet again something that pushes the lines of what is allowed in PG-13. I'm surprised Marvel let that shot stay in, but I was glad to see it. And obviously we get the very stylized music action scenes. There's one phenomenal action scene near the end where it's like one take and you see the Guardians all working together fighting these like cyborg animal hybrids with a bunch of guns and crap, and it was a phenomenal action scene set to No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys, which compared to the Super Mario movie, which had that song, this movie does that way better. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed Guardians 3. I feel like they do make a few of the characters, especially Adam, introduced this, played by Will Poulter, who plays him very well. They do make him a bit stupid, and most of the comedy lands with that, but they do have a reason to explain that, and he's just entertaining in this. I like Adam in this overall. And Groot, I like his design in this and how he, like, you see in the trailer, he pulls out those guns and, like, is shooting everybody around him, and he even, like, deploys wings and stuff. But I do feel like he is a bit underutilized in this. I understand Groot isn't the most compelling character, but at least in Guardians 2, where he's Baby Groot and he's really cute, he still has a relationship with the characters. And you can tell he has this, but still my favorite Groot is Volume 1 Groot, the big old softy version. This one isn't bad though. I enjoyed this version of Groot. And Vin Diesel honestly gives a better performance in this than he does as Dominic Toretto in Fast and Furious, which I will not be reviewing Fast X. I'm sorry, I'm not reviewing that film. But yeah, the main problem that I have with this film that does bring it down a bit is that it does have a somber tone, especially when you cut back to Rocket's backstory and see all this like messed up shit happening, and it has a bit of that melodramatic tone throughout. And the past Guardians films have had serious and comedic moments working together to build a ultimate like ending to it. This one I don't feel like combines those elements as well, especially because there's this like event that happens in this that the Guardians kind of brush past. Like, I was confused, like, why are they just ignoring this? But I guess not. And then the other major problem of the film is its pacing. It is 2 hours and 30 minutes, and you definitely feel that length, especially near the end. I do feel like the pacing does really bring down a lot of the enjoyment. And as I said, not all jokes land, and some of them could be trimmed down to just be quicker jokes than longer bits that were like improv that probably should have been cut. And the effects in this are really good. The CGI, and there's a lot of practical stuff in it. And as I said, the villain may not be the most interesting, the High Evolutionary, but he's very entertaining to watch, and his god complex, I think, makes him a very interesting character on how over-the-top the actor plays him, and when he gets his comeuppance, you enjoy it. But overall, I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's probably on par with the other two Guardians films. As I said, it has problems with pacing and doesn't do the best of job combining the tones of the sadder moments with the more upbeat moments, but it didn't bother me that much. And the good stuff is still really good in this. The characters are so fun. I always will enjoy these characters. You get action scenes set to the old classic music like the Volume mixtapes and shit like that. And I just had a blast with this still. I enjoyed this Guardians film, and I feel like it is a good send-off to the characters. There is still potential to use them in the future, and if they don't make another Guardians film, this one definitely wraps up the bow tightly with that, with the characters' arcs and relationships coming to a close. There's still potential to use them in the future, but for the Guardians films at least, this makes a good bookend to them. I definitely recommend it, and the grade I will be giving to this one, I really mulled between two, because it's like, oh, do I really want to? But I think this film does deserve it. I'm gonna give it 4.5 awesome mixtapes you play while going into battle out of 5. I was debating between a 4.5 and a 4, but I feel like the good stuff in this outweighs the pacing and other problems to where I feel like, yeah, it gets a 4 out of 5. It was just a fun time, and I've missed this MCU, but What did you guys think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Please leave your opinions in the comment sections down below. Please leave your opinions on the review. As well, if you have any other reviews you want me to do, put those in the comments section. Please make sure to like, subscribe, check out the channel. I do the Meandering Conversations podcast. I do my weekly reviews, even though this technically came out a week later than what I thought it was going to be, but, you know, we'll just ignore that. And yeah, but for now, the next review, I will try to start working on my Last Crusade in-depth review, unless something else comes out in theaters that I will just do a normal review of. But for now, I will see you all next time when I go into battle to this song.